I love that when you have a band of four people, especially young people. A lot of times your influences can kind of butt heads at times. You know what I mean? And I don't see that with y'all's sound. Like your sound is so all over the place, but it's so cool. Like there's funk and there's jazz and there's blues and there's rock, alternative vibes, some hard rock vibes. There's even some pop influences in there that I hear. Do you guys, is that like a strategy of y'all's, like trying to be what my wife would call polyjamorous, right? Like you just have all these different styles.
Mhm.
um,
I oh, did you want to say
I
something?
think we have kind of grown. We definitely like at first maybe there was some like I don't think it was automatic. I
Yeah,
Yeah.
think
some
that
growing.
Andrew was really doing his own thing. I was doing my own thing, and it kind of was clashing or whatever. But as we've gone on, I think that we've gotten better, and we, you know, Andrew gives a little bit of the funk, but then takes it away at the times where it's necessary.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and we were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
We gave a kind of workshop to some high school kids for an event, and it kind of, when I was thinking about it, kind of came to me that I've been in groups where everyone has really similar influences, and that's cool because you
Yeah.
kind of all have the same vocabulary, you're coming from a similar place, and it kind of right at the beginning it comes out being kind of the way you want to hear it because everyone is steeped in the same stuff,
Hmm.
but being in a group where we all have really disparate kind of influences and stuff. Uh, like Maura was saying, at first it's kind of clashy and it's hard to kind of meld together. But once you kind of, everyone compromises a little bit on certain things at certain times,
Yeah, of course.
all in the interest of making it sound good. I think that's kind of the thing um, that you have to come to as a band that have different influences. It's like you have certain stuff that you want to play and stuff that you want to hear, but the bottom line is it has to sound good with the song.
Right.
So,
Do you guys feel
um,
like in rehearsal that's a plus for y'all? Like having those different ideas and really understanding that everybody hears you when you have that idea? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it allows you to have a wide range also if you want to try anything. Also, because there's such an array of influences, you're also like in your mind you're gonna expect something, but also there'll be some space to be like, here, come up with something or just do it, do you or whatever, and then whatever it sounds like, it's never gonna sound like anything you could come up with in your own imagination, which is really cool, and that's what makes things go around in many ways because it's
Yeah,
just like
and sometimes that's when the best ideas are heard, right? When you're afraid, when you're apprehensive of sharing something, but you know that you can because you're comfortable within your group. Sometimes that's when the best ideas come forward in art, right? Like those wackadoodle ideas that nobody wants to speak out loud, and then they end up in the music, and that's what everybody fucking loves at the end of the day, right? It's like, holy shit, where'd that come from? And one thing I noticed about you guys, and I don't know if it's a strategic thing or not, but a lot of times in music, like that bass line can be so just kind of there, right? Just kind of present, but not really featured. And with y'all, everybody in this band is featured. The musicianship from all four of y'all is featured in some way in this band. Is that something that you guys try to put out? Like because it's as a listener, as a consumer, a fan of yours, that's what I'm picking up.
so I have a comment about this. So I think part of that comes from we went to Nashville on tour a couple years ago. When was that? That was
2023.
22,
23.
23,
Yeah.
something like that. And we were down there and we played a show, and you knew this producer down there who, after the show, was giving us some advice. And something he was talking about, at least this is the way I kind of think of answering that question. Something he was talking about was dynamics, and coming from a classical music background, I always think of dynamics as how loud or quiet I'm playing. But he
Right.
was talking about how we had to be more dynamic, from the way we were playing back then, in terms of our arrangement in certain things. So he was saying, think of arrangement not just in terms of what you're playing, but if you're playing or not. And so in that way, I think in a lot of the way we've developed the songs since then and the stuff we've written, that's been a big part of it, is kind of pulling stuff away to highlight something more important. Kind of a subtractive arrangement. That's at least the way I see some of that. But yeah, I think that's been, at least for me, in the way, I view that. I lost my train of thought.
That's a brilliant way of putting it, honestly. Like, it truly is. But like, it's one thing to like just put in a bass solo or a drum solo, right? And then just like shine a light on that. Like, a lot of bands will do that. They'll try to like not just give a guitar solo, because then the guitarist will get all the love and admiration. The bassist and the drummer are kind of lost in that. So they'll give a bass solo or drum solo just to give it, right? And then that just doesn't make sense from a creative standpoint a lot of times. But the way you guys are doing it, it's not necessarily a bass solo or a drum solo. You guys are featuring those instruments as part of the song. You're not taking a break from the message to shine a light on either one. And I love that. And you do the same thing with the guitar. You're not really shining too much light on the guitarist either. And that makes each of you the star of the band, in my opinion. I love that. Where does that come from? Is it just from knowing each other for so long, or?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you guys have known each other the longest. Alex and Tommy, I won't say it for you, but how do you guys know each other?
Yeah, we met each other playing baseball, like Little League baseball, and stuff like that. So that was like what we were like 8 years old, I think. And then came to middle school together, and then like started a band. Tommy and our friend Teddy had a band, and they're like, "We need a drummer. Do you want to come play?" And I'm like, "Sure." Never played with people before, so that would be dope. And then, so we've kind of played for a while and just know each other and jammed for hours and hours. So
what grade was that? Like sixth or
sixth grade?
Yeah, sixth grade, and then they stopped that band like in college.
So it went for like 10 or so years, 10, 12 or something like that.
Yeah, it's just so cool to listen to y'all, because like the bass, I'm a huge fan of the bass as an instrument, and a lot of people aren't. A lot of people, the bass is just there. It's part of the song, and they don't even realize it a lot of times. So like that's one of the first things I notice in this band is like the feature of each of y'all is so strong, and I love that. And honestly, you have to set aside your ego, right? In order to make sure that everybody in the band is featured. And so a lot of times when I'm doing these full band interviews, I have to say stuff like, so what's this current lineup, and who's the next bassist, and who's the next drummer, and because that chemistry is hard to cultivate. It truly is, because of ego. Ego is usually the root cause of that.
And kind of piggybacking off their relationship, me and Maura have been playing together forever. At least it feels like forever.
The first band I was in, he was the bass player. So.
Yeah. So I was
only band,
Yeah. So I was a sophomore. I was 15. I got dropped off at the rehearsal, and you were 16.
Yeah.
Right.
He forgot his power cord.
Yeah, I forgot the power cable for my amp.
Which is hilarious, because that's so unlike him, because he always has everything.
I'm MacGyver. I have like a bag of.
He's the current, like, if there's any gear tech, anything in the band, whatever instrument, if he has something for it to assist you with it, whether it's a little tool or another part, he always has something.
I carry a 40-pound bag of all my gear and stuff, and it has like tons of tools and adapters and stuff. And
so you're the old man of the group, essentially. Don't throw anything away. We might need that someday.
Yeah,
explains why his memory isn't what it used to be. You know what I mean?
But he knows who MacGyver is, so he's all right in my book.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is, I think some of that lack of, ego, I think a lot of it is just kind of being comfortable together and being comfortable with saying, like, hey, Maura does this to me a lot. Hey, Andrew, maybe you don't play 45 notes during that 2-bar section. Maybe you play 12. It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not like magic. Like we there are times where I say, like, hey, Tommy, can you not play here? Or and it's always kind of awkward. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and it's natural to be hurt by that, because that's something that you're music is like an emotional connection. It's not like you're just like saying.
Absolutely.
It's
and
like,
each person's part is going to be their baby too, so they're going to be more personalized to that, whatever it is, right? So yeah, I get that, and that's why bands break up a lot. Honestly, it truly is. So the two of you on the right and the two of you on the left have been kind of known each other the longest. So how did 2 + 2 = 4? When did that happen?
Well, also at some points we band Alex and I had when we were getting to the college area. One of our members went up to Wisconsin, the bassist. So we had for a couple gigs, we had Andrew over here because stepping and filling on bass, which was a delight, and also because or whatever that also were you already in? Is that how you knew?
Yeah.
Alex was already the new drummer for the band that they were forming.
Okay.
I'm not telling you.
We'll start from the beginning.
Let me.
So,
I'm trying to
we'll back up.
storytell
So,
a different way.
Me and Mauro start. Well, really, you and kind of the guitar player at the time start this band. I get pulled on bass, and a guy I was drumming with, gets pulled in to play drums. We had that kind of lineup for like a year. Then we ended up kind of changing up the lineup a little bit. Where our drummer at the time ended up moving to guitar, and then we needed a drummer. So we got Alex, who's the best drummer. And then how long? No,
it's really funny because I remember.
You got that on tape now, Alex. Just so you know, you got it on tape.
At the early days of the band, like we played at this pizza restaurant, like in the summer outside on the blacktop, and like no one was actually watching, just our families and stuff. Yeah, it was so hot, and we were just playing in the sun and outside, and no one was there. But they played after us, and I remember thinking like, oh my god, they are amazing. I was watching Alex play.
We're just sitting there like embarrassed.
Yeah, I don't know about embarrassed, but I was like, I was excited. I was all of a sudden envisioning like, Alex is going to be in this band, and how are we going to do this? And then, I never would have imagined though, like that they'd be sitting here right now in an interview with us. Like, it is really crazy. I was so intimidated by them.
So it was that random show that brought you all together, even though you guys went to school together, right?
Well, not quite. We kind of had
a couple of those shows.
We kind of had some mutual friends and stuff. Okay. All kind of growing up. And it's a small scene in Park Ridge. There's not a crazy big music. You can't even call it a scene.
I wouldn't even call it a scene.
There's like I think I was one of like 3 bass players within like the radius. My bass instructor was a guitar player who owned a bass. Like there's no like musical ecosystem there, so it's really tight knit and everyone kind of knows each other.
Yeah,
but they're really well known like in the local people who like music and everything.
High school scene.
It's true in the high school, like South, like my first week of school there was a talent show and they were the headlining act at the talent show, and I'd been playing bass for like a week, and I was like, wow, so cool, like, and I got to see them. So then Alex is playing. We had that lineup for, was it 2 years? Something like that, just around there. And then our guitar player at the time ended up having to leave, and
we were playing for a trio for a while.
Yeah.
And then
that's kind of how we tracked the first EP too. I think a lot of it was like just the 3 of us like going and doing it live, and then
we were kind of without a guitar player for a while.
And then we asked Tommy to like play on that EP, do the lead guitar for us, and while he was doing it, we're like, why not just have him play? I mean, it sounded phenomenal.